Hey there, Skullheads. I'm Snags.
And I'm old Silky.
And we're doing another episode on Quentin Tarantino tonight. All the great artists so far, Motorhead, the Beatles, and Tarantino require multiple episodes. But first, old Silky's going to pimp the website, and then we'll
Yeah, so
introduce our special guest.
go on snagsandsilky.com. Check out the links to all the different playlists and links to movies you should see, books you should have already read. And we've got a special guest going all the way back to the days of Northside High School, Mr. Scott Royale, not to be confused with the Royale
Johnny
machine.
or Johnny Royale.
Yeah. So
or
that's
the Canadian or the Canadian Crown Royale.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a good one too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
Kansas City Royals.
We're gonna redo the Quentin Tarantino the way it should have been done, and we're gonna let Snags take the reins.
Well, here's the deal. That first episode that we did on Tarantino is a fun episode. It's kind of like a jam session. A lot of free form ranting and raving and hot takes and stuff. Definitely go check it out. This one's going to be more of a deep dive. So, start out talking about his early life and career and early filmmaking, and then we'll kind of discuss that a little bit. So, Tarantino was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, March 27th, 1963. His mother was Connie McHugh. She was a nurse. She married this cat named Tony Tarantino. He's basically raised in Los Angeles. His mother took him to see a lot of films. He developed a passion for movies at a young age. She divorced Tony. He had a stepdad named Kurt for a while. They'd go see movies. Pivotal experience was seeing the movie Black Gun with his mom's boyfriend Reggie. This is after Kurt. Great flick. I totally recommend catching that blaxploitation flick from the 70s. Just the way the audience flipped out in that movie. He was like, "Damn, I want to make movies where people flip out like that." He drops out of Narbonne High School in Harbor City, Los Angeles at the age of 15. Starts working at the Pussycat Theater, porn theater in Torrance, California at age 16. This was the 70s. Yeah, I've been to the one in LA back in like 1987. He was an extra on Golden Girls as an Elvis impersonator. You can find that on YouTube. From 1985 to 1990, he works at Video Archives and got an extensive film education through watching and discussing movies with his pals. That's where he met Roger Avery, another employee there who became a filmmaker, co-wrote Pulp Fiction with him. Ended up with just a story credit, but that's another story. Began writing scripts. At 14, he wrote Captain Peach Fuzz and the Anchovy Bandit, which we used as the title for the first Tarantino episode we did, inspired by Smokey and the Bandit. That one's lost to time, I think. I've never been able to find that script anywhere. Early filmmaking. So 1987, him and his friends put together a 70-minute film called My Best Friend's Birthday. It's a comedy about a man who tries to surprise a friend on a birthday and everything goes wrong. $5,000 budget, shot over 3 years. It took them 3 years to do that. A bunch of the fucking film gets destroyed in a lab fire. So you can find it on YouTube, but it's basically a 36-minute version that they pieced together. Then he starts writing some stuff that you will definitely have heard of. He writes a script for True Romance. That one gets directed by Tony Scott, which is Ridley's brother. Tony read True Romance and Reservoir Dogs. He wanted to direct Reservoir Dogs, but at that point, Quentin was saving that for himself. He writes a full script for called Natural Born Killers, which Oliver Stone options, and then Oliver basically proceeds to rewrite it with a few of his writer buddies and Tarantino gets pissed off and disavows it. Tarantino ended up with a story credit on that. So, early years, early filmmaking. Any thoughts on that stuff?
Was that the My Best Friend's Wedding? Was that the one where he was sitting there? He was in the movie trying to talk about how Top Gun. You know what I'm talking about? How him and were Maverick and Ice. They did it the gay way.
Probably is, because I don't remember that from any of his
I'll
other
look it
movies.
up.
I saw My Best Friend's Wedding like 5 years ago on YouTube. So what I remember most about it is a lot of dialogue, not a lot of action, and that it was a comedy. But that sounds like something right out of it. It's been a while since I've seen that. My Best Friend's
I got
Birthday.
confused because the My Best Friend's Wedding was the Julia Roberts.
Yeah, My Best Friend's Birthday. Yeah.
Best Friend's Birthday. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just trying to look it up. Yeah, he gives this great description of Top Gun. It's fabulous.
That's cool.
So yeah, that one's worth checking out. Did you find the actual dialogue, Scott?
I'm looking it up as we speak. Nothing's as fast as
Silky,
it should be.
any thoughts on True Romance or Natural Born Killers?
Well, I mean, everybody should say that the Chris Walken,
monologue. Yeah.
No, where he, Dennis Hopper, that's just one of the best scenes ever.
Oh yeah, well, it's for Dennis Hopper. Yeah, it's really kind of Dennis Hopper's reaction.
That whole True Romance is a absolute classic. I love the Elvis impersonator throughout.
Val Kilmer,
yeah. Speaking of Top Gun, but Natural Born Killers, I'm one of the few people, I just did not like that movie.
I like parts of it.
I don't think I like the just kids killing their parents, or I don't know. I just remember being bizarrely offended at 19 when that came out. I did not like the movie. I didn't like how it flashed all over the place. It was just like very short attention span, MTV, over the top, almost like a talk show vibe through the whole thing. I just didn't like it.
I have to think, and I don't know if the Tarantino version of the script is out there, that Tarantino version might have been a little less serious and a little more dark humor,
Possibly.
I know
it was just very Jerry Springer to me. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, and who knows how much of that is Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone, he's a really talented writer and filmmaker, but he can beat a dead horse every now and then.
Well, and where is Oliver Stone? What's he done in the last 30 years?
Yeah. All right, so
so the movie was called Sleep With Me, and hold on, and it actually gives me 1994, and it's Quentin Tarantino as Sid, and he gives this whole diatribe about how Top Gun was just a story about two gay men.
That's hilarious.
And I mean, it's this whole thing. I'm looking at it here, and it's he starts talking about how Kelly McGillis, she's heterosexual. She's saying, no. Go to the normal way. Go to the normal way. Play by the rules. Yeah. Go to the normal way. And then he goes into this whole diatribe about like how I'll be your wingman. No, you can be mine. And it's so funny. Check it out.
I'll check it out.
All you gotta do is Google "Sleep With Me the Gay Way," and it'll tell you about it. It's funny.
So here's the deal. I got a list at the end of my notes here of all the stuff he acted in, and that is one that he acted in. I'm just gonna find out who wrote it real quick. Hold on. Sleep With Me, 1994. Yeah, he had a cameo as Sid in that. He acted in a lot of stuff, especially early on. I'm just going to find out who wrote it real quick. 6 different writers and Tarantino is not one of them. So that he might have ghostwritten that dialogue. It sounds completely like something he would write. But
it was definitely his writing. I promise you that.
Yeah, officially, he didn't write it. So, anyways, let's jump into Reservoir Dogs. I'm gonna give a little. I know everybody knows what these movies are about, but just to refresh your memory, I'll start with a little synopsis, and then some. I'll drop some facts about each movie, then we can discuss them. Reservoir Dogs is a crime thriller that follows a group of criminals who are brought together by a crime boss named Joe Cabot to carry out a diamond heist. The story unfolds in a non-linear fashion, primarily focusing on the aftermath of the heist, which goes disastrously wrong. The surviving members, Mr. White, Mr. Orange, Mr. Pink, and Mr. Blonde, reconvene at a warehouse to figure out what went wrong. As tensions rise and suspicions of a police informant among them grow, the men confront each other in a series of intense and violent interactions. The film explores themes of loyalty, betrayal, the consequences of criminal life, culminating in a dramatic, bloody showdown. This was made on a $1.2 million budget. It took 35 days to shoot. Tarantino got this made because he met this producer cat named Lawrence Bender through a friend of a friend, gave him the script. Bender really liked it, and Lawrence Bender's wife or Lawrence Bender's acting teacher's wife knew Harvey Keitel. So he gives it to his acting teacher, who gives it to his wife, who gives it to Harvey Keitel. Harvey Keitel loved it, and the rest is history. You got Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Steve Buscemi, and this obviously launched his career. Sundance Film Festival sensation. A lot of people were shocked by the violence. It established his style, much more so than My Best Friend's Birthday. Box office was $2.9 million. Thoughts on Reservoir Dogs?
That was definitely the first movie I saw of him, and I just loved the movie. It was all about Steve Buscemi, Harvey Keitel, and I think when I saw Tarantino in that, he looked familiar, like I maybe had seen him somewhere else. But
it's a cat from Golden Girls.
Yeah, right. I believe Reservoir Dogs, was that modeled after another movie or
City on Fire? I think it's a John Woo movie, City on Fire.
John Woo, yeah.
One of those Hong Kong action flicks.
I think I went to see Reservoir Dogs for that reference.
Mm-hmm.
But just loved it. Great movie. Great soundtrack too. And that started a whole thing where as Tarantino came out with something, you just got the soundtrack because he really shapes a lot of his momentum around songs that tie in,
Scott, what do you think? Reservoir Dogs.
What was the comedian's name? Stephen Wright.
Yes,
in the soundtrack. I
radio.
mean, it just made it seamless. It was perfect.
Oh, yeah,
it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And that brought back Stuck in the Middle with You that nobody had listened to in years.
Oh, yeah, Steelers Wheel.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was either Incesticide or In Utero. One of those later Nirvana releases. Kurt Cobain drops a thank you to Quentin Tarantino as their fame briefly overlapped before Courtney had Kurt offed. He does get a shout out on one of those later Nirvana in the liner notes, which is pretty cool because of Reservoir Dogs. All right, Pulp Fiction. Drop the scenario and some facts, and then we can discuss it. Pulp Fiction follows three main narratives. Vincent Vega, a hitman, is tasked with entertaining his boss's wife, Mia Wallace, leading to an eventful night that includes an overdose scare. Butch Coolidge, a boxer, double-crosses mob boss Marcellus Wallace by winning a fight he was paid to lose, resulting in a tense escape. Meanwhile, Jules Winfield, Vincent's partner, experiences a life-changing moment during a hit, prompting him to reconsider his criminal lifestyle. The film's nonlinear structure intertwines three stories with the tale of two diner bandits, culminating in a climactic confrontation that ties the narratives together through themes of violence and redemption. This one had an $8 million budget. It was Miramax's biggest hit to date, made $213 million. John Travolta played Vincent Vega, which revitalized his career. Originally, it was written as Vic Vega, and it was going to be Michael Madsen's character from Reservoir Dogs. But Michael Madsen turned it down so he could do a Western, Wyatt Earp. Sam Jackson as Jules Winfield. That was originally offered to Lawrence Fishburne, who Tarantino loves. But Fishburne's agent said, in order to be a big star, you should stop accepting co-starring roles. So Fishburne turned it down, which he regretted for the rest of his life.
Why you don't see Fishburne anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Except the John Wick movies.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, later on, Fishburne is negotiating with the Die Hard producers to be a co-star in one of those movies, and he's holding out for more money. And Pulp Fiction blows up, and they cast Sam Jackson instead. So it bit him in the ass twice.
Yeah.
Uma Thurman is Mia Wallace. Bruce Willis as Butch Coolidge. Yeah, Mrs. Mia Wallace. This one won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. I remember watching that ceremony and seeing Forrest Gump win Best Picture and being so fucking furious. You know? I mean,
well, to be fair, I think Forrest Gump was probably the best film that year.
I gotta agree.
You think Forrest Gump is better than Pulp Fiction?
I think as a film, yes, I think as a screenplay, Pulp Fiction blows it out of the water.
Yeah. All right, I respectfully disagree. But anyways, it did win Best Screenplay.
What else lost? Look at the other movies.
I don't remember, but I do know. I watched Forrest Gump once, and I've seen Pulp Fiction many times.
Oh, Forrest Gump is it's a great movie just about those times, you know, nostalgia and a great soundtrack.
I'm respectfully disagree on which one's a better movie, but yeah, I see your point.
No, I'm not. I would never compare the two.
Neither would I, because Pulp Fiction kicks his ass around the block.
It's an action film versus a drama that's you know.
Anyways, but yeah, but it did get Best Screenplay, and it inspired like when Eddie Van Halen dropped on the scene, it inspired a legion of imitators.
Well, the good thing about Travolta getting the Vincent Vega character is it revitalized Travolta's career, really rescuing him from the just destitution.
Yeah.
And
he's kind of ruined it again since then.
Yeah, I mean he's made some, you know, we did get some weird ones, but overall, you know, it was good to see him get a good shot. Whereas had Madsen played Vega, I think it would have been a great role and the movie would not be hurt in any way. But,
well, originally Tarantino had planned for a movie that would have had the Vega brothers.
The Vega brothers is actually, he considered doing a prequel afterwards.
Yeah.
So there was no Vincent Vega before he wrote. Even after he wrote Pulp Fiction, the first draft, it was all Vic Vega. There was no brother. But after Pulp Fiction, he considered doing a Vega Brothers prequel, which would have fucking rocked.
Yeah.
Right. By the way, just to go back and look.
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction was up against Forrest Gump.
Right.
4 Weddings and a Funeral, Quiz Show, and you ready?
Mm-hmm.
The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh shit. That was a great
that one out
movie.
of your fucking head.
Yeah, Shawshank.
That was a great. That one I could see Best Picture to, but not.
I gotta go with Shawshank overall.
I gotta go with Shawshank on all 3 of those 2.
Yeah,
Shawshank was pretty badass. I still go with Pulp Fiction, but I see your point. It's a great fucking movie.
the one point I wanted to make is Travolta really catapulted with that role. Had Madsen done it, he could have pulled the role off, but I don't think it would have made Madsen any bigger. I think Pulp
I
Fiction
honestly think
exactly the same.
I honestly think it wouldn't have been exactly the same. It would have been a little bit more mediocre because something about Travolta brought a style to that movie that wouldn't have been there with Michael Madsen's a great actor, but like that whole dance sequence when they're at the
I mean that was
that's all Travolta.
That's
all
why
Travolta.
You want Travolta for that role.
Yeah. So
so back to Kill Bill because we went to Kill Bill and we blew it back to Pulp Fiction.
No. We haven't got to Kill Bill yet. We're gonna get to Kill. Trust me, we'll get there. We got 4 Rooms, we got Dusk Till Dawn, Jackie Brown, and then we'll get to Kill Bill.
Oh, we got good stuff coming.
Yeah. You cats ready to dip into 4 Rooms?
Yeah,
real quick?
let's get past 4 Rooms.
All right. So
shit stain in this whole.
Yeah, I'll read the. I'm gonna drop the knowledge on 4 Rooms and Dusk Till. I'm gonna drop the knowledge on 4 Rooms and Dusk Till Dawn, and then we'll discuss them both. 4 Rooms, 1995 anthology film. Directors Allison Anders, Alexander Rockwell, and Robert Rodriguez, and Quentin Tarantino, who were like the new generation of up and coming filmmakers at the time. His segment, The Man from Hollywood, was based on Roald Dahl's story, The Man from the South. The stars were Tim Roth and Tarantino himself acting. The story takes place in a penthouse suite on New Year's Eve, where Ted the bellhop, played by Tim Roth, is drawn into a dangerous bet orchestrated by film director Chester Rush, played by Tarantino. Chester and his friends, bored and intoxicated, propose a game inspired by an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. The bet involves one of the guests attempting to light a Zippo lighter 10 times consecutively. If successful, he wins Chester's car. If he fails, he loses his pinky finger. Ted the bellhop is offered $1,000 to act as the referee and execute the punishment if necessary. The guest fails on his first attempt, and Ted swiftly chops off his finger, collects his money, and exits the scene. Basically, kind of typical Tarantino style, long takes, dialogue heavy, pop culture references. It had a mixed reception overall, especially the whole anthology. Tarantino's segment is often praised as the strongest. Thoughts on this before we go into Dusk Till Dawn?
It was the only good segment of that movie.
Oh yeah,
that movie was hot garbage.
I
enjoyed the Tarantino one.
Absolutely. To go from Reservoir Dogs to Pulp Fiction to 4 Rooms, and you're going to see 4 Rooms, going, oh, new Tarantino, got to see it, and it was just shit.
Well, I mean, it had what was the girl from Hot Shots, Valerina Galino?
Yeah,
had Madonna in it. One of my favorites, Ione Skye from Say Anything.
Yeah.
It had a pretty good Antonio Banderas. Wasn't Bruce Willis in it too?
I don't know if he was.
Well, I don't know why I'm thinking that he is. Hold on, maybe he wasn't. But Marissa Tomei was in it too.
Yeah,
she was my crush of the 90s.
Oh yeah. Still,
why? Because of My Cousin Vinny.
Adorable.
Yeah, she's fucking awesome. Look, it was one of those movies that I saw, and I'm glad I saw it. But I enjoyed his episodes of Alias more than I enjoyed 4 Rooms. So, yeah.
All right, so let's jump into Dusk Till Dawn. Released in 1996, directed by Robert Rodriguez, screenplay by Quentin Tarantino, based on a story by Robert Kurtzman. Tarantino starred in it, co-starred with George Clooney as the Gecko brothers. The plot follows Seth Gecko, George Clooney, and Richie Gecko, Quentin Tarantino, who are on the run after a violent bank heist. They take a family hostage consisting of Harvey Keitel as Jacob Fuller, a faithless pastor, and his 2 children, Kate, Juliette Lewis, and Scott, Ernest Liu, to use their RV for crossing into Mexico. They stop at a remote bar called the Titty Twister, which turns out to be a den for vampires. As night falls, the bar's staff and patrons reveal their true nature, forcing the geckos and their hostages to fight for survival until dawn. The film blends crime drama with supernatural horror, culminating in a bloody battle against the undead. Showcases Tarantino's writing style, sharp dialogue, pop culture references, B-movie genres. Also features blaxploitation star Fred Williamson, and it spawned 2 direct-to-video sequels and a TV series, and it demonstrated Tarantino's versatility as a writer and actor outside of his directorial work. Thoughts on Dusk Till Dawn?
Brett?
I enjoyed this. This was like a good psycho horror type thing. I believe this was the first time that I saw Catherine Zeta-Jones. If this is the right movie, I think this was.
No, you're thinking of Selma Hayek.
Selma Hayek.
Oh yeah, she's That's another one.
When she comes down off the stage, that's this movie, right? Selma Hayek.
Yeah. That, and I was like, oh, holy shit! Very similar to when you saw The Mask, and you saw what's her name, the blonde. I just forgot her name.
Yeah, I want to say Charlize Theron, but it's not her. It's the other one.
In which one?
In The Mask, when she's in the green dress.
Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz. There you go. Yeah.
Just you're like, holy shit! Look at this. You know.
Well. First of all, Selma Hayek is Santanico Pandemonium. Probably one of the sexiest movie scenes on fucking creation.
Yeah.
End of story. Like, battle me on that one, and I will fucking battle you back. She was so amazing in that.
That was tremendous.
Harvey Keitel was great. He was the embattled preacher, and that scene in the RV where Quentin Tarantino is Richie is all kind of fucked up, and he's talking to Juliette Lewis. And if you want me to eat pussy for you, I mean, I'll do that for you. I'll do that for you. Yeah, it was just so fucked up.
Good shit.
It was so fucked up. And then I love the editing scene of that where Clooney's character walks into the hotel room and he had to go out and get some fucking food. Like, Clooney went to get some food and he came back and he just massacred that lady from the bank.
Oh, yeah.
And you only see little flashes of like the blood and what he did. And he's like, Richie, you know how Clooney does that thing with his head. He's like, Richie, did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
What did I do? And he's like, what? She was trying to escape. It was the same. Yeah, it was just, that was such a good, and to me, that's Tarantino's second best movie. I mean, I know Robert Rodriguez directed it, but in terms of Tarantino, like if you say, what's your favorite Tarantino movie, I would say this, but my second is From Dusk Till Dawn, no doubt. No doubt.
I love his writing. It really shines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We saw that when it came out in the theater, Brett, and I don't know if I've seen it since. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. But yeah, I remember
it's good, man.
I remember digging it, especially the genre shift in the middle where it starts as this heist movie and then halfway through it's a vampire movie. It was pretty cool.
Well, and you got Cheech Marin running the bar.
Pussy.
Cheech was in there.
Yeah. And then look, don't forget the soundtrack with Stevie Ray Vaughan, and it's so good. I mean, it's such a good movie. Tito and the Tarantulas.
Yeah.
I was marathoning Stevie Ray Vaughan today. He's got a good 3.5 hours of solid shit.
Live at the El Macumbo is still my favorite.
As long as you don't go into the Vaughan Brothers album, It's solid.
Not good.
Yeah.
Jimmy wasn't. He just wasn't the same.
No,
It wasn't
that
the
was
same.
What was that
That
band
was-
called? The
Fabulous
Fabulous
Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
not the same.
Yeah.
We used to have a parody version of "Wrap It Up, I'll Take It." Was we had a whole set of lyrics, but it was "Prop It Up, I'll Fuck It."
Yeah. That's a classic.
Yeah.
Prop it up.
Oh fuck!
Yeah.
What was it
I'll
like?
fuck your face, your house, your mouth. Now,
I'll
baby.
fuck your,
you know.
I'll fuck your cunt, your face, your something like that.
House, your
so
mouth.
yeah. All right. So anyways, but we digress. So let's jump into Jackie Brown.
His best movie. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
And there's no fucking arguing.
All right,
Jackie Brown.
let's do a little synopsis and some facts, and then we'll get the takes. So the film follows Jackie Brown, Pam Grier, a flight attendant who supplements her income by smuggling money from Mexico to Los Angeles for gun runner Ordell Robbie, played by Sam Jackson. When Jackie is caught by ATF agent Ray Nicolette, played by Michael Keaton, and LAPD detective Mark Dargis with cash and cocaine, they pressure her to help them arrest Ordell. Meanwhile, Ordell plans to eliminate Jackie to protect himself. However, Jackie devises a clever plan to play both sides against each other with the help of Max Cherry, Robert Forster in another career revitalizing role, who is a bail bondsman who becomes romantically interested in her. As Jackie
like that actor.
As Jackie navigates a dangerous game of deception, she aims to walk away with $500,000, outsmarting both the law and Ordell's associates. The film explores themes of loyalty, betrayal, and survival in a world of crime. It was an adaptation of Elmore Leonard's Rum Punch, more restrained than Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction in style, as homage to blaxploitation films as well, in a way. Box office 39 million. And so I remember when this came out, Pulp Fiction had just been made. Pulp Fiction changed filmmaking the way Tony Iommi changed heavy metal. It just, legions of imitators. Suddenly gangster films were all about pop culture references and personal quirks. And this comes out, and I remember there was a collective kind of cultural sense of, there's a little bit being overwhelmed, which is why I want to start with Scott's take on why it's the best Tarantino flick.
I liked it because it was more of a story. Like, okay, if you think about Pulp Fiction, they took this and that and they just made it all together. Like just this scene and this, and just made it. They did the same thing with Jackie Brown for the most part because they took you back and explained everything that they did. I loved the Bridget Fonda little surfer girl. God, she was so hot back then.
Filthy.
Yeah, nasty.
Absolutely.
I really loved God, what's his name?
Robert Forster or Samuel Jackson?
Tom Lister Jr. as Winston. That was Debo from the Friday movies.
And Sid Haig was in that movie.
He was. It was just one of those movies I just enjoyed the shit out of. I believe it's probably the one that people go, I mean, you got Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Django
Kill
Unchained,
Bill.
you got all Kill Bill, you got all this. No one ever talks about Jackie Brown, and it was just so
You're
good.
right.
And I think about when they go back and they explain what happened in the dressing room of the department store, and they did all this kind of stuff where she hid she had the books, then she put the money and put the towels over it. It was just such a creative freaking movie. And by the way, the music in that was fucking awesome too.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's one thing about Tarantino that we can all agree on is he probably has some of the best soundtracks ever, right? Correct?
He does, yeah. And I'll tell you this, we did that first episode, and after the episode, through the magic of Amazon, I just started with Reservoir Dogs and just got each soundtrack to every single Tarantino movie.
There's not a bad one.
Got them all. And I even went so far as to get the From Dusk Till Dawn one and the some of these others like Death Proof and Inglorious Bastards, just that were more soundtracky score film, score music versus soundtracks, but they're just great. They're just great to have, and obviously, Pulp Fiction is a fantastic soundtrack. So,
I mean, I don't know which one's better. I mean, when you start talking about Reservoir Dogs,
yeah,
well, we got
Pulp Fiction
they're all
had
good.
all
They're
that
just
surf music and
yeah,
tremendous.
It's interesting because he actually talked to Pam Grier about playing playing Eric Roberts' girlfriend in Pulp Fiction, which would have been odd. But I think that was a role. Or maybe it was Mia Wallace even. But he talked
Eric
to her.
Roberts.
Eric. No, not Eric. What's
Stoltz.
that? Eric Stoltz. Yeah.
You talk about instead of Rosanna Arquette.
Yeah. It was either the Rosanna Arquette role or the Uma Thurman role in Pulp Fiction. He talked to Pam Grier about it, and they decided eventually she wasn't right for it. But she walks into his office, and he's got a Foxy Brown poster on the, from one of her 70s flicks on the wall, and she's like, "You put that up there because I was coming in." He says, "No, that's been there since I decorated this office." And so he had her in mind for a role and was like blue balls to cast her in something. And that's part of how this came about. I thought it was a good flick overall. It's interesting to hear y'all's takes on it.
Well, I will add, with Jackie Brown, you notice just the cast with Michael Keaton, obviously Robert De Niro. It seemed like everybody wanted to be in a Tarantino movie.
Oh yeah, by then for sure.
At this point, and
De Niro,
the cast shows it.
Well, Robert Forster outshined everybody in that entire movie.
Robert Forster's great.
I remember him from Alligator. You remember that movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of Tarantino's favorite movies. He talks about that in podcasts and stuff. Yeah, he loves Alligator.
That's a killer movie. God damn, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Forster passed not that long ago.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, he did.
But I imagine Tarantino, when Robert De Niro showed up on the set, he must have thought he was dreaming.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine that early in his career.
And I hear that Tarantino and De Niro did not really get along during.
Well,
seeing how De
Niro has turned out to be such a prick, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
That was kind of before that all happened, and such a taxi driver and raging bull and all that shit. You just can't deny it.
So we're at the Kill Bill spot. I think we need to hear Scott's story, and then we'll go into the movie.
Yeah. Scott has a Kill Bill story, which is part of why we invited him on this episode. So lay that down, and then I'll read my synopsis, and then we'll discuss it. But just drop the story first.
So this was back in the early 2000s. I was living in Los Angeles, and I was working for the Hollywood Reporter as an ad sales guy. And there was this restaurant, and it was this Moroccan restaurant called The Oasis, not to be confused with Oasis in Atlanta, which is a strip club, right?
Which is closed now.
The Oasis.
R.I.P. Oasis.
Yeah. And the chef was my client, but I want to make sure I get this correct. I don't want to screw this up because I feel like I always screw this up. His wife, the chef, which is my client, his wife, was Quentin Tarantino's assistant. And I was just sitting at the bar one night, eating some food and chit-chatting with him and blah, 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 and this and that. And where are you from? Oh, I'm from Atlanta. And, blah, blah, just talking. And my father was one of the owners, the part owners of the Hank Aaron dealerships in Atlanta with BMW and Toyota and Honda and Jaguar and all this kind of stuff, but whatever. And she heard me say this, and she goes, "Hey, do you have access to Hank?" And I'm like, "Well, he's my dad's business partner, so yeah." And she goes, "He's a big sports collector. Just a big sports collector." And she's like, "Do you think that you could get a baseball that says to Quentin from Hank Aaron?" He went by Henry, but for Hank Aaron. And I was like, "I can certainly try." And she's like, "Well, what would you want in return?" And I'm like, "A couple of movie posters signed by Quentin. That'd be fine." And so I make a call to my dad. God rest his soul. He just passed about 2 years ago.
Here's the Mr. Royale.
Yeah. And I said, "Hey, you're a big Pulp Fiction." He loved Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
He loved it. And I was like, "Hey, so Quentin wants a ball signed by Hank, but he wants it to say to Quentin." And he goes, "Well, you're going to have to spell it out because Hank can't figure out how to spell Quentin." I'm sorry. Look, I'm just telling you truths.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, I'll get that handled." And so I called her back up, and I'm like, "Hey, I got this done. I sent my dad an email. I spelled the name correctly. It's going to say to Quentin from Hank Aaron." And she's like, "Sweet, I'll get to work on your movie posters." Like, "Hey, I need you to add one more." So not only do I need a Pulp Fiction for me and Pulp Fiction for my dad, but at the time I was married, and my brother-in-law, which I'm still great friends with, he was like, "Hey, I want one from Dusk Till Dawn." And I'm like, "All right, I'll get this figured out." I told her, she's like, "Sweet, we got this figured out." I was like, "Do you need me to send you the posters?" She's like, "What?" And I'm like, "All right, never mind." So I don't know. I got the ball in the mail, and I texted her, and I was just like, "Hey, I got this baseball." I was working at the Hollywood Reporter, so you understand. It's like there wasn't anything weird. I was an ad salesman, but at the same time, it was just like, yeah, she answered my calls, I answered hers. And so I was like, "Hey," so I got the ball in, and she's like, "Hey, I'm going to meet you at this gas station," which was at the base of Mulholland Drive. And I want to say La Brea. Like, I haven't lived there since early.
They're close.
2000s. I can't remember. But
I think that's right.
Yeah. There's an Exxon gas station right there, whatever at the base of it is.
Yeah.
And so I call her up. I'm like, "Hey, I'm on my way." And she's like, "Hey, I ran out of gas." And I'm like, "Where are you?" And she's like, "I'm on Mulholland Drive. I'm afraid to take this thing down the hill with no gas in it." And I'm like, "Well, I'll do it for you. I'm not that far from you. Give me 10 minutes. She's like, "Okay. We'll get about halfway up Mulholland once you turn off La Brea." I think that's what it was. And she goes, "I'm in the pussy wagon."
Oh, holy shit.
And I'm like, I hadn't seen Kill Bill yet. So I was like, "What?"
Oh, that's fucking hilarious, dude.
I had no idea what she was talking about. So she's like, you can't miss it. It's yellow and purple, but mostly yellow. And, I'm like, "All right." So I'm pulling up in my Honda Accord, and I pull behind it. I see it. And then right on the tailgate, it says pussy wagon. And I'm like, "Oh, that's what she meant." But I still had no clue what the fuck she was talking about because I had not seen the movie yet.
Right.
And so anyway, I go and I meet her, and I was like, "All right, you take my car down, park at the gas station. I will roll this car with no gas in it down the freaking canyon into the Exxon, and we'll get you some gas and you're going to be fine." And she's like, "Okay." So I'm looking at the red leather seats, and I'm like, this fucking truck, it's like this massive truck. And I'm looking at the keychain, and it actually says pussy wagon, right?
Right.
So I get down to the bottom of the hill, and we exchange. I put gas into the pussy wagon, and we exchange the ball for the posters or whatever. And so I finally go. This is back when the Cinerama Dome was still open in LA, and I went and saw Kill Bill.
Right.
And then I see the pussy wagging keychain, which she gets from that dickhead doctor or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, I've seen that keychain. I'm like, And then she goes out, she hides in the pussy wagon with the red leather seats. And I'm like, I drove that shit.
That's hilarious.
I got to drive the pussy wagon.
I was
awesome. Telling Brett about this. Since then, I've ordered it. I haven't gotten it yet. It says it's supposed to be here in March. I bought the die-cast metal pussy wagon.
Oh, nice. That's fucking
you
awesome.
have to have that. But so you to recap, you've driven the pussy wagon and you filled the tank.
Oh, there you go.
I filled the tank, driven the pussy wagon,
drove it and filled it. Yeah,
and I did, and I sent Brett.
And now he's getting a toy version.
Yeah, I'm getting a toy version of it. Which I started thinking about this. I've got teenage daughters. I'm gonna have to put this up in the closet, and then when they graduate and go to college, that I can put it out somewhere.
On the heart.
You can go up into the attic and look at it every now and then.
Just touch it.
Yeah. Touch the pussy wagon.
Just you touch my pussy wagon. Yeah.
Got a pussy wagon in the attic. I go up there and touch it every now and then.
Well, I sent a picture to Brett of the movie poster that he sent me. Well, my dad's name was Everett, and it said, "To Everett, thank you for the Hank Ball, Quentin Tarantino."
That's awesome.
And then what was it? I sent it to you, Brett. It was something like, "To Scott, love Quentin Tarantino." I forget, he did something where he kind of pointed towards Uma Thurman's tits on the picture or something like that. But it was it was a really cool kind of thing. It was cool.
You still
I drove the fucking pussy wagon.
You still have your poster?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's drop a synopsis and some facts on Kill Bill 1 and 2. We'll talk about them both at the same time. Volume 1 follows the story of the bride, played by Uma Thurman, a former assassin who seeks revenge on her ex-colleagues after they attempt to kill her and her unborn child on her wedding day. Awakening from a 4-year coma, she embarks on a mission to eliminate the members of the Deadly Viper assassination squad. Her journey takes her to Japan, where she battles Orin Ishii, played by Lucy Liu, and her army, culminating in a dramatic sword fight. Fucking love that scene. Kill Bill Volume 2 continues the bride's quest for vengeance. She targets Bud, played by Michael Madsen, and Elle Driver, played by Daryl Hannah, before confronting Bill, played by David Carradine. Bill was originally going to be Warren Beatty. That was all lined up, and Tarantino he's in Austin at the Alamo Draft House doing one of those film festivals that they do down there. They're doing a Kung Fu marathoning the Kung Fu TV series down there. And it was either him and Harry Knowles, that guy that had Ain't It Cool News.
Yeah.
Is that whole Elon Musk that I heard about, Harry Balls? No, Harry Knowles.
No, this is Harry Knowles, a different Harry. But they basically had this light bulb. Why the fuck are you casting Warren Beatty as Bill when you could get David Carradine? And again, that's another kind of actor who wasn't in the spotlight at the time and brings him back in the spotlight in a brilliant masterstroke of casting. The film delves into the bride's past, revealing her training under Pai Mei. Pai Mei was a very popular character in a lot of these 70s Kung Fu movies, this old white-haired, wise Kung Fu cat, played in this case by Gordon Liu, who is my favorite martial arts actor of all time. Just an amazing fucking martial artist in a lot of those 70s Kung Fu flicks.
Yeah.
So she trains under Pai Mei, and in a climactic showdown, she uses a secret martial arts technique to defeat Bill, reclaiming her daughter and ending her path of retribution. This was originally going to be a 4-hour-long R-rated film, and Harvey Weinstein sat Quentin down and said, "You can do a 4-hour-long PG movie, or you can do a 2-hour-long R-rated film, but you're not going to do a 4-hour-long R-rated film. And Quentin Tarantino said, well, I'll be goddamned if I'm going to do a PG film. And so he said, what if I do two 2-hour-long R-rated films? And that was the compromise. Uma Thurman had to undergo intense physical training for this role. It's a great homage to martial arts films and spaghetti westerns, and it even has an anime sequence.
Well, and her whole outfit is from Game of Death, that yellow.
It's a total female version of Bruce Lee's Game of Death outfit. Yeah. And combined box office of $330 million. And the interesting side note to this was Uma Thurman's injury on the set and her claims of sexual harassment from Harvey Weinstein. While filming Kill Bill, Thurman was involved in a serious car crash after being persuaded by Tarantino to perform a driving stunt despite her concerns about the car's safety. She suffered significant injuries, including a concussion and damage to her knees and neck, which bother her to this day. She also later revealed that Harvey Weinstein tried to expose himself to her and shove himself onto her. She reported these incidents. She reported the Harvey Weinstein incident to Tarantino. He confronted Weinstein and demanded an apology. Thurman blamed Weinstein and other producers for the crash incident and the subsequent cover-up of the footage. She basically was trying to take legal action. They wouldn't provide the footage from the crash, the behind-the-scenes footage. The crash and the cover-up are part of Thurman's larger narrative of mistreatment in Hollywood, which includes experiences with Weinstein's harassment, blah, blah, blah. So it's a bit of a sour note for Thurman, but her and Tarantino are on good terms again. Thoughts?
They're on really good terms. I was reading about this the other day, and I think she just wanted to be heard. I mean, quite honestly, I think that's kind of what it was. And he came out against Harvey. I mean, it was not hard to do right now. I mean, Harvey,
she could have easily just lumped him in, and he wouldn't have had another word to, she might have just, just blacklisted him. It's great that she didn't.
Yeah, she didn't lump Tarantino in with Harvey. Yeah, I agree. Daryl Hannah also said that Harvey, he basically this is a guy who's rich as fuck. He could get a 10 grand fine ass hooker in a hotel room for no problem, and instead he's harassing these fucking
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah. He's harassing these actresses. I don't know what the fuck his deal was. I guess he got a kick out of making
many years of getting away with it is what it is.
He had to have a kick out of making them feel uncomfortable, though.
And now he's begging Trump for a pardon.
Yeah. What a scumbag. But let's zoom out from that and talk about Kill Bill 1 and 2 in general. What are y'all's thoughts on those flicks?
The scene in the trailer where Daryl Hannah and Uma Thurman are fighting, was probably one of my. It was probably one of my favorite fight scenes, even more than the John Wicks. Mm-hmm. Like I love that where she pops her other eye out and Daryl Hannah freaks out, starts freaking out. Uh-huh. It's just so good, so good.
I will say it doesn't directly reference the Snow Queen, but it does draw heavy inspiration from Lady Snowblood. It's a Japanese series of kung fu, and it made me go and track those down. Those are really well done.
Yeah, there is a snow sequence in Kill Bill.
Lady Snowblood.
Yeah.
Very artistically, just brilliant.
Why can't I remember? Oh yeah, the one with Lucy Liu.
Yeah, the character Ren Ishii in Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm. Lucy Liu. Yeah.
Lucy Liu. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a Kill Bill 3, but I don't know.
It's not going to happen. It's not.
There was rumors. Basically, we'll get to this at the end of the show here, but that was one of the possibilities of his final film, but last I heard it wasn't going to happen as well.
Well, it was going to be the movie Critic with Brad Pitt, and he killed that.
Yeah.
I saw an interview or something he was talking about recently where he was like, no, if this is going to be my last film, I got to make sure it's the right one. And I don't care if I look stupid. It's going to be the right one.
Yeah. I hope it, so. I hope it is. I hope it is. But my experience with Kill Bill was, you know, my mind was blown when I saw Pulp Fiction. I got dragged to the theater by Silky here to go see Pulp Fiction. I hadn't seen Reservoir Dogs. So naturally, I immediately go rent Reservoir Dogs. My mind was blown by that one. Dusk Till Dawn, I thought was really entertaining. Four Rooms was kind of underwhelming. And then Jackie Brown comes out, and it, in my opinion, it was okay. And so I hear about Kill Bill, and I'm like, well, I'll give Tarantino another chance. And I just remember being fucking floored by Kill Bill 1. I went and saw it by myself at Tower Place in Atlanta. And I just remember walking out of there just like, holy mother of God. What did I just watch? Is this when
Tower Place was just a theater, or did they serve you like chicken strips?
I think it was the beginning of the chicken strip era. Yeah, you could get a beer and yeah. But my God. And then of course Kill Bill 2, I thought just completed the story, but I fucking loved, for me, it goes Pulp Fiction and then the Kill Bill movies as far as number 1 and number 2. And Kill Bill movies might even be number 1. I don't know. I just fucking love them. I think they're great.
Look, there's no wrong answer.
Of course not. No, we're all sharing our opinions. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer. Mine's Jackie Brown. Yours is the Kill Bills. What's yours, Brett?
I really liked Django and Once Upon a Time in America.
You mean Hollywood?
I can't believe nobody said anything about Inglourious Bastards.
We're gonna get
this. I thought Inglourious Bastards was his most amazing, just the best script he's ever written.
You know what? That was my worst favorite movie he did.
Oh, really?
Really? Oh, I fucking love that movie. That's my
I liked it, but it wasn't.
Inglourious Bastards is my number 3. But
look,
yeah.
Well, I know we're gonna get to it, so I'll talk about it when we get to it.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so the next one is Death Proof. Death Proof is part of the Grindhouse double feature that was released along with Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror. Quentin's segment Death Proof, his movie basically is a double feature, follows the sinister exploits of stuntman Mike, played by Kurt Russell, who uses his modified death-proof cars to murder unsuspecting women. So a death-proof car is his driver's side section of the car is completely padded and strapped in, and that car can roll over and do whatever, and he's going to be fine. Yeah. The passenger side of the car is the camera cage. That's where the camera is usually mounted. There's nothing but metal in there. There's no seat belt, no cushions, no nothing. That'll come into play here as I describe the film. So in the first section of the film, he's in Austin, Texas. He stalks a group of friends, including Jungle Julia, Arlene, and Shanna. After a night out at a bar, he offers one of them, Pam, a ride in his stunt car. She's in the camera cage. He's in the death-proof safe side of the car. And he basically fucks that car up until she's dead, slowly killing her. It's brutal. The first time I started watching Death Proof, I turned it off in the middle of that scene. I was like, I'm just not in the mood for this right now. And it's pretty disturbing, but it's classic Tarantino at the same time. Then he ends up stalking and killing the rest of the women. So then the second part of the movie takes place in Lebanon, Tennessee, 14 months later. He targets another group of women, Abernathy, Zoe, and Kim. However, these women prove to be more resilient and resourceful. After a high-speed chase and confrontation, they turn the tables on Mike, ultimately defeating him in a violent showdown. The film is known for its homage to exploitation cinema, and it features intense car chase sequences, and serial killer and muscle car genres as well. Stunt woman Zoe Bell played Zoe, and she performed all her own stunts. She was really fucking cool in that movie. Box office 31 million. Discuss.
Well, Death Proof to me took me back to an old Josh Brolin movie called The Car. Came out in like 1977.
James Brolin? You must mean James Brolin.
The dad, yeah.
Yeah.
But a really fun movie to watch. The Car, basically this black car, and you never see who's behind the wheel. Goes tearing through and runs people over and shit. Terrorizes this small town, and I think it's implied at the end that Satan himself is driving the car, but that's what Death Proof immediately made me think of.
For me, it reminded me of Duel with Dennis Weaver.
Yes, another exactly.
Yeah, you're just not going to get away from this guy. I remember. Well, I remember Mary Elizabeth Winstead and her cheerleader outfit, and that's going to be hard for me to forget.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought Planet Terror was hot garbage. First of all,
yeah, that was terrible.
Did I like what's her name with the, it looked hot with
shotgun
leg? Yeah, that was all fine. But Death Proof was a way better movie than Planet
I
Terror.
couldn't get through Planet Terror. I still have not seen the whole thing.
I have yet to even attempt to see Planet Terror.
It's okay. It's all right, but it's nowhere near.
Yeah, you might dig it on a Sunday, just watch some,
Like it starts for me, it started with Vanessa Ferlito doing the dance, to the song on the jukebox down in Mexico. And she was doing the dance for what was the stuntman's name again?
Stuntman Mike.
Stuntman Mike. Yeah. Kurt Russell. And that was great. And then you see that scene, and I forget the song that was on. I can look it up. But when it had that crash, and it gave you each one of their deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Like it showed you like Vanessa Ferlito, where she had the wheel that just came over her face.
Right.
And it showed you like all their different deaths. And I thought that movie was so creative. I love Death Proof.
Yeah,
it's a good.
It's tough seeing a movie where Kurt Russell dies at the end. That sucks.
What?
Where Kurt Russell dies at the end. That it's tough seeing.
He was such an endearing character too.
No, they beat the shit out of him. I love that.
I just didn't like that he died at the end. I wanted him to get away.
Oh yeah.
I didn't. I wanted his ass beat.
Yeah. I'm with Scott. I wanted that fucker dead, and I wanted it to be in a painful way.
Right.
When it was. They just beat the fucking tar out of him.
Yeah. All right. Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
Inglourious Bastards is an alternative history of World War II set in Nazi-occupied France. The story unfolds through two main plots. The first follows Shoshana Dreyfus, a Jewish woman who escapes the massacre of her family by SS Colonel Hans Landa and later operates a cinema in Paris under an alias. She plots revenge against the Nazis by planning to burn down her cinema during the premiere of a German propaganda film featuring high-ranking Nazi officials, including Adolf Hitler. The second plot centers on the Bastards, a group of Jewish American soldiers led by Lieutenant Aldo Rain. Their mission is to spread fear among the Nazis by brutally killing and scalping them. The Bastards team up with British intelligence and German actress Brigitte von Hammerschmark to execute Operation Kino, a plan to blow up the cinema during the same premiere. As both plans converge, chaos ensues at the cinema, leading to a fiery climax where Shoshana's plan succeeds and the Bastards eliminate key Nazi leaders, altering the course of history. The film concludes with Rain marking Londo with a swastika, ensuring his Nazi identity is permanently visible. The cast: Brad Pitt as Lieutenant Aldo Rain, Christoph Waltz as fucking brilliant performance as Colonel Lance Honda, Melanie Laurent as Shoshana Dreyfus, Eli Roth as Sergeant Donnie Donowitz, Michael Fassbender as Lieutenant Archie Hickox, Diane Kruger as Bridget von Hammersmark, Danielle Brühl as Frederick Zuller. Mike Myers makes a cameo as General Ed Finich.
He was good.
Yeah. The Donnie Donowitz role was written for Adam Sandler, but he declined so he could do funny people. All critical acclaim and commercial success. Box office $321 million. My wife was out of town. I remember going to a bar and getting drunk and eating a nice tasty sandwich, and then I drove drunk to the Claremont Lounge and got even drunker. And
Blondie.
And then I swerved down to Midtown 8 Theaters and walked in as the opening night. And I walked in at the last minute. The lights are going down. The theater's packed. And I raised my fist and screamed, "Opening night!" And the whole theater goes, "Yeah!"
Oh, my God.
And then I watched what I think is the third best Quentin Tarantino movie of all time.
Can I go first, Brett?
Yes, absolutely.
I hated this film.
Really?
All right, and I'm gonna tell you. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you why.
And I'm a fan of the first one, the real one.
But here's the thing: take Christoph Waltz out of that movie. What do you got?
You got a bear Jew beating the brakes off of Nazis, and you got Brad Pitt doing a pretty good.
I mean, I love Christoph Waltz and everything that he does. Yeah. He's in my eyes, he's probably he was stupid amazing in Django.
Oh okay? That was.
But I mean, everybody's like, "This is the best fucking movie ever." I went and bought it on Blu-ray, and I sat down, made myself a drink, and I was just like, "Okay." And I was like, "Ooh, Christoph Waltz, that scene where he was hiding the people under the floors." And I'm like, "Oh, This is gonna be good." Yeah. I got about halfway through it, and I was just like, "Oh God." Stinker.
Right. I think with Tarantino, he doesn't have to stick to reality. He's taking you into his world, and his world is going to be over the top violent and with Death Proof, he touched on the exploitation movies, the Cars, Jackie Brown, the blaxploitation, Inglourious Bastards. He gives why not give a gift to the Jews and I'll kill Hitler.
Don't you do this right now.
I'll kill Hitler.
Anti-Semitism is a big thing.
I'm just saying
that's the deal. I just thought
then his next thing he gives it to the blacks with Django Unchained. Like he's giving them, and then with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he goes after the hippies, and so it's these.
By the way,
Once
Upon a Time in Hollywood is a second
victories.
worst film.
Oh my God, I love that film, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Was ridiculous.
We'll get to it. Anyways, he's making these films as it should have been, and as I mentioned,
what should have happened,
as it should have been. But
his take on it.
Yeah.
Little victories. Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts on Inglourious Bastards before we jump into Django?
No, right. I just had a good time with that one, and I think that's what you were supposed to do.
Maybe I'll watch it again. I got the Blu-ray. Maybe I'll throw it in again.
Yeah. All right. Django Unchained. This film follows Django, played by Jamie Foxx, a slave freed by Dr. King Schultz. Another brilliant fucking performance by Christoph Waltz. King Schultz is a German dentist turned bounty hunter. Schultz needs Django to identify the Brittle brothers, wanted criminals who were Django's former overseers. In exchange for his help, Schultz offers Django his freedom and trains him as a bounty hunter. After successfully capturing the Brittles, Django and Schultz form a partnership and spend the winter collecting bounties. They then set out to rescue Django's wife, Broomhilda, played by Kerry Washington, who is enslaved at the Candyland plantation owned by Calvin Candy, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Posing as interested buyers of Mandingo fighters, they infiltrate the plantation but arouse the suspicions of Stephen, played by Samuel L. Jackson, Candy's loyal house slave. The tensions culminates in a violent confrontation, resulting in Schultz's death and Django's capture. However, Django escapes, returns to Candyland, and exacts revenge on Candy's associates. He frees Broomhilda and destroys the plantation before riding off with her into the night. Will Smith was originally supposed to play Django. That's who that role was written for.
Thank God that didn't happen.
He turned it down.
Thank God.
Michael K. Williams from Boardwalk Empire then auditioned, didn't get it. Jamie Foxx was ultimately cast. The Calvin Candy role that Leonardo DiCaprio played was originally written for John Travolta. But basically, Tarantino, when he went to meet with Travolta, he was like, damn, you got old.
Yeah.
He needed somebody a little bit younger.
Can you imagine the memes with John Travolta? Just would
not the same at all.
It wouldn't have been the same. Sacha Baron Cohen apparently had a small role that got cut. And there was controversy over the realistic language that was used for that era. I do remember being in the theater watching it and being physically uncomfortable. I was like, God damn, they're dropping the N-word quite a bit.
Well, not so much that, but that too. But the violence
and the violence, yeah.
I remember going, "Holy shit!"
It was, and I guarantee you, the reality was not any different. I guarantee you, the reality back then was just as brutal as he portrayed.
Oh, it was. I'm sure it was worse.
Which was the point. Well, that was the point. Yeah. Commercial and critical success. Oscars for Tarantino and Christoph Waltz. Box office $425 million. Thoughts on Django Unchained?
I will say an amazing soundtrack, and his use of Jim Croce's "I've Got a Name" in the montage.
Oh man, I was going to bring that up. You just killed me. Thanks.
Sorry. I thought that was really taking a chance. I'm usually really pissed off when you set a movie in the 1800s and you got a heavy metal guitar going. You're like, dude, what are you doing? But I like that. I like the use of.
We argued about that once because I really like Peaky Blinders, and it's full of contemporary rock and roll, and old Silky doesn't like it for that reason. And he was arguing with me. He sent me a text. He's like, what if they made a violent Civil War movie with a Slayer soundtrack? And I was like, dude, that would be fucking awesome.
It would. After I sent it, I'm like, God.
Did you guys read the story that came out? I'm trying to find it. There's a story that came out like last week or the week before where Leonardo DiCaprio was just like, I'm just not really comfortable using the N-word. This is during the filming of Django. And he's like, I'm just not really comfortable. And Sam Jackson's like, shut the fuck up. Just say it. We hear it every day. Just say it. Don't be a pussy.
What Sam Jackson exactly said was, motherfucker, this is just another Tuesday.
You're right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson.
Tuesday. Say it.
I love Samuel Jackson.
He cuts through the bullshit. Any other thoughts on Django Unchained?
No, just a great fucking movie. I'd like to see
Don Johnson, maybe
Fox do 2-3 more of those. It'd be great.
They should make more Django movies, for sure. What were you going to say about Don Johnson?
Oh yeah, just every time I look at him now, I'm like, you're fucking racist.
All right, so Hateful Eight, set in post-Civil War Wyoming. The film follows a group of 8 strangers who seek refuge from a blizzard at a remote stagecoach lodge called Minnie's Haberdashery. The group includes bounty hunter John the Hangman Ruth, Kurt Russell, and his fugitive prisoner Daisy Domergue, Jennifer Jason Leigh, in a brilliant performance, I think. Fellow bounty hunter Major Marquis Warren, Samuel L. Jackson, and Chris Mannix, Walton Goggins, who claims to be the new sheriff of Red Rock. As the storm rages outside, tensions rise inside the lodge. The occupants include a Mexican named Bob, Demian Bashir, English hangman Oswaldo Mowbray, Tim Roth, cowboy Joe Gage, Michael Madsen, really good performance by him, Confederate General Sandy Smithers, Bruce Dern, hysterical performance, harbor secrets and hidden agendas. Suspicion and paranoia escalate, leading to violent confrontations. Major Warren uncovers a plot involving Daisy's gang, resulting in a bloody showdown. The film explores themes of betrayal and survival, culminating in a grim resolution as the characters' true motives are revealed in the claustrophobic setting of the lodge. Origin, it was originally a Django Unchained sequel short story that morphed into an original screenplay. The screenplay was leaked to the internet. I remember reading it at the time. It's full of grammar and spelling errors. That's when I realized Tarantino is a brilliant story writer, but he has people edit his stuff, obviously. He dropped out of high school at 15, so, he canceled the project because of the leak of the screenplay, changed his mind after he did a public reading of it. It was influenced by John Carpenter's The Thing, shot in 70 millimeter. One interesting note from this movie was Kurt Russell. Basically, he's playing a 145-year-old Martin guitar that was lent to the production by a Martin guitar company. 145-year-old guitar, authentic from that era. And there's a scene where he's supposed to smash it. And what Kurt didn't realize was that they were supposed to cut and swap out a different guitar. And he smashes the 145-year-old guitar. You can see Jennifer Jason Leigh genuinely shocked in the movie when he smashes it. She's shocked because he's smashing a 145-year-old guitar.
Jesus Christ.
He felt really bad after that, and Martin Guitar no longer loans guitars to anybody. They changed their policy after that.
As well they shouldn't.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. And Ennio Morricone score, and Christoph Waltz was in this too. So, what are y'all's thoughts?
What was really neat about this is they went 70 millimeter, and they had like a program that was like a facsimile of those old programs when they had these 70 millimeter with the intermission and stuff.
I've got 3 of those programs 10 feet from me right over there, because
I've got one that you sent me.
Yeah, I mailed it to you.
I couldn't get it down here.
Yeah, I saw it in 70 millimeter with the intermission and all that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they had something down here. I had to drive somewhere to catch it in that format, but they didn't have the programs. But anyway, I enjoyed it. What's interesting is Netflix still has the extended version of Hateful Eight, where it's a
miniseries,
8 episodes or something.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and it's like longer, but just a great movie. It definitely, you have to mention Stagecoach, because the whole story is really kind of Stagecoach, the John Wayne. I believe that was John Ford directed.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But that all comes to mind. I would have liked it to have been less of a stage play feel. I would have liked it to feel more like you were in the Old West kind of thing. But those are minor. Those are minor critiques.
It was a Western version.
Like You're right.
It was a Western version of Reservoir Dogs in a way. It was kind of a return to that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, like if I'm 1 out of 10, I give it a 5 or a 6. I mean, it was okay. I mean, Brett's right. Jennifer Jason Leigh stood out probably the strongest of that entire movie. It was okay. I mean, it was okay. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. It was just kind of, it was okay. It was a good movie.
Yeah, another movie.
I'm with you. I think it's in the mid range of Tarantino's output. Yeah, it's good. It's not fucking mind blowingly brilliant. Yeah. All right, we ready for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, set in 1969 Los Angeles. Following the lives of fading television actor Rick Dalton, Leonardo DiCaprio, and his longtime stunt double best friend Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt, as Hollywood undergoes significant changes, Rick struggles to maintain his career, often taking guest roles as villains on TV shows. I thought of this when I watched MacGruber and Val Kilmer was the bad guy. Meanwhile, Cliff, a war veteran with a mysterious past, supports Rick while dealing with his own challenges. The film also intertwines the story of actress Sharon Tate, played by Margot Robbie, who lives next door to Rick with her husband, director Roman Polanski. As Rick and Cliff navigate their careers, they inadvertently become involved with the infamous Manson family. The film culminates in a fictionalized version of the Manson attacks, where Rick and Cliff confront members of the Manson family in a violent and unexpected showdown. The movie blends fact and fiction, serving as a tribute to the final moments of Hollywood's golden age while reimagining historical events. This movie was made right after the Weinstein scandal, so Tarantino had to find a new studio. Sony won the bidding war. Tom Cruise... Cliff Booth was written for Tom Cruise. For whatever reasons, that didn't work out. The characters, the actor and the stunt buddy were based on Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham. Hal Needham was Burt's best friend and stunt double for years. The Bruce Dern role was originally going to be played by Burt Reynolds. Hollywood offspring are in notable roles. Ethan Hawke's daughter Maya is one of the Manson chicks. Rumor Willis, Bruce Willis's daughter, is in there.
Oh, nice.
Sydney Sweeney.
Oh, Sydney Sweeney's in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Andy McDowell's daughter Margaret Qualley and Kevin Smith's daughter Harley Quinn Smith is in there.
And let's not forget Mikey Madsen's in it, who's now up for a Best Actress for Honora.
Nice.
That was the one where Brad Pitt threw the can at her and hit her in her head.
Yeah.
Cool. The Maltese Falcon statue makes a cameo in a bookstore scene, the actual statue from the movie. Nice. There was a controversy over the Bruce Lee appearance, which we covered quite a bit in the previous episode. People were upset that Bruce got his ass kicked by the stunt guy, but that's actually
my favorite scene in the movie, by the way.
And it's also based on a true story. So Bruce actually took lessons from the guy in Western wrestling after he got his butt kicked by the guy. 2 additional hours of scenes were shot but cut. So maybe someday there will be a mini-series version of this one. Wow. And the novelization, I read it, and it's great. There's about a 20% overlap in the story, but 80% of that novel is what happens before and after and around the plot of that movie. So it's worth reading.
Yeah, it's like a separate story.
Yeah. Box office, $372 million. Thoughts on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I know.
Can I get mine first?
I know Scott didn't like it. Yeah, let's start with why Scott didn't like it.
I said that Inglourious Bastards was my least favorite. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I liked it. It was fun. I just thought it was silly. The things that I liked about it were like the scene that you're talking about with Brad Pitt and Bruce Lee. I like that, and I like the scene. I was thinking about the scene where Mikey Madison was in there, and she was the bad guy, and he threw the can at her face, and she freaked out. Like, there were some really good scenes in it with some really good people in it. I just sort of got bored.
Yeah, it just didn't grab you.
it didn't grab me. It just
Yeah.
didn't grab me. But was it a good movie? And I've watched it a couple of times.
Mhm.
And I understand the whole what if this had happened. I get it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not like one of those people who like, no, that's not history. So
Uh-huh.
no, the whole
Yeah.
thing was set about what if this had happened.
Yeah.
And that part that was actually one of my favorite things about the movie.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of I don't know.
Yeah.
So many people are in that movie who are now rising stars. Like, go look at the cast of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Look at who these people. Austin Butler. Sydney Sweeney. Margaret Qualley. And just all these people came from that. So how can you doubt that was not just a fantastic? I mean, there's some great things about it. But to me, it ain't Reservoir Dogs. It ain't Jackie Brown. It ain't Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I mean,
those are tough to outdo too.
Yeah, when you're as brilliant as Tarantino, you got a lot to live up to every time you make a new film.
Well, no wonder he's like waiting and like he doesn't want to make his last film yet. He wants to make it perfect.
Yeah.
And
right.
And the film critic was supposed to be it.
We'll get into that. We got a whole section on that coming up.
Some of the ideas that have come up, I'm just like, well, thank you for not doing that because that sounds awful.
Right.
Nothing I've heard him about to do really excited me. So
let's talk about his acting. Well, I'll just say for me, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I really liked it. I do agree. Like when you're kind of drifting around in the middle of it, you can feel like you're kind of floating around. But I think it ended really strong, and I think the blowtorch scene at the end when they just take out the fucking hippies, that is my Black Gun movie theater experience.
Yeah.
Everybody just fucking went nuts when that happened, and me included. I was laughing, tears were streaming down my eyes, and I was like, that is so fucking awesome.
Well, it just is him standing out in the cul-de-sac holding his drink and yelling at the guy, get your fucking bullshit out of my,
Yeah.
It was so what these peace, they pretend to be peaceful.
Yeah.
And we've had that conversation.
We've talked about, the hippies and their hypocrisy, but
And you and I came from that whole lifestyle.
I'm sure we sound like old men just repeating the same story for regular listeners.
But we came from that scene. That was our childhood. So for me, going to see this movie, I was like really uncomfortable. I was really uncomfortable with the whole Manson thing because I'm like, God, this hits too close to my childhood, and I just don't want to see this. And and I saw it not knowing how it was going to end. I thought it was going to play out exact, and it went the other way where they beat the shit out of these fuckers.
Yeah, fucking kills a bitch with a blowtorch.
Yeah,
fucking
blowtorch.
Awesome.
I was like, this is tremendous. And I love, again, he visits that radio show vibe that he did with Reservoir Dogs and made it more like an afternoon listening to the radio in 1969. That whole soundtrack is just tremendous. And I really enjoy that.
I remember when that came out, you made your version of that soundtrack. You made a playlist based on it. Yeah. All right. So we're done with the films. To wrap it up, I want to cover his other activities, which is acting, writing, and podcasting. And then I want to talk about future projects. So we just got 2 more sections to go. First, let's talk about acting, writing, and podcasting. So I'm going to list all the films he's acted in that he didn't direct. Eddie Presley, 1992 independent film. The Coriolis Effect, a short film from 1994. Sleep With Me, which you mentioned, 1994. He plays this cat named Sid. Somebody to Love, 1994. He plays a bartender. Destiny Turns on the Radio, 1995. He stars as Johnny Destiny in that one. Girl 6, 1996, he appears as a character named QT. From Dusk Till Dawn, which we already talked about, he co-starred in. Little Nicky, he plays a blind preacher, Adam Sandler flick.
Yeah, I've seen him in quite a few of these.
Yeah, the Alias TV series from 2002 to 2004.
4 episodes.
Recurring role is McInnes Cole. Planet Terror, he plays a rapist. Sukiyaki Western Django 2007, he appeared as a character named Peringo. He also tried his hand at, I think it was an off-Broadway play somewhere around that time, 1998, called Waiting Until Dark. Early on, his goal was to become a writer, director, actor like Orson Welles. Acting was just as important to him as directing. And I remember listening to some interview with him. It was around the time he was dating Sofia Coppola for a while.
Uh-huh.
And he was offered an acting role, and he was going to go away for a month and do this movie. And she was like, I want you to stay home and be with me. And he was feeling ambivalent about the acting anyways, because every time he acted, he would get bad reviews.
No, he was like, bitch, I saw you in Godfather 3. I want nothing to do with you.
Right.
But he's getting these brilliant reviews as a director, and every time he acts, he's getting these bad reviews, basically.
Right.
And then his girlfriend's begging him to stay home and not go do this acting role that he just got. And he said that was kind of the turning point. At that point, he's like, fuck it. I'm just gonna write and direct. And so it kind of really tapered off after the 90s, wherever he was really intensively trying to do a lot of acting.
Right.
Books, he wrote Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the novelization, which I highly recommend. It's a fantastic book, standalone from the movie. It's not.
And there's a
rehash.
hardback version that's got extra stuff.
Shit.
From the original, and I just recently got that. I haven't checked out what's extra, but it's been expanded, so that's
nice.
Cool.
I read the Kindle version, and then his film criticism book, Cinema Speculation. Cinema Speculation is fucking awesome. It's a great book. Highly entertaining.
He talks about all the movies he loves. He lists. There's just so much in that.
Right.
That's really good if you haven't read it.
On the podcasting front, he's been a guest on a lot of podcasts. I've heard him many times. Always a good guest. Scott, see if you can work your connections, get him on this podcast. And then he has his own podcast that he started with Roger Avery. I've called the Video Archives Podcast, and that one they were discussing movies that were available at Video Archives back in the 80s. I haven't seen too many recent episodes of that, but they did a few episodes of that one. Before we talk about what his final project might be, does anybody have any thoughts on his acting, on his books, or on his podcast stuff?
No, the two books are really good, and I am excited to see what else he does in the future on just the fiction or nonfiction front.
He really does want to write a lot of books. He said he's gonna keep writing. Scott, you checked out any of this shit?
No, I'm just pissed off and bitter that he didn't get to do a Star Trek movie.
Well, we'll talk about that.
That would have been amazing.
It really would have been.
Let's transition into future projects. Let me read my notes on that. Star Trek is in there, and then we'll discuss. So he considers Kill Bill one movie. So if Kill Bill's one movie, then in his mind he's done 9. And his 10th movie, he wants to be the final movie because he doesn't want to end up like Brian De Palma, who used to be brilliant and is now just making crap. Here's some notes on what may have been his next film at various times. All of these pretty much debunked at this point, but originally he was going to do one called The Movie Critic, which was set to focus on a real-life film critic who worked for a pornographic magazine in the 1970s in California. However, around April 2024, Tarantino decided not to proceed with that project, and it actually morphed into a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel for a while, and then it just fell apart, and he decided not to do it. There were discussions about casting Brad Pitt,
Tom Cruise,
Christoph Waltz, maybe, blah, blah, blah. He has a history of shelving projects and revisiting them later, so you never know. He did actually write a script for a Star Trek movie that he wanted to direct. It was going to be an R-rated Tarantino Star Trek movie, which I think that would have been the perfect thing to go out on, because what the fuck, man? That just sounds fucking awesome.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to find the script. Good luck finding it, but I would love to find it. For a while there, another director was going to direct it, and then it just kind of faded into the cosmos. There was talk of a Django Zorro crossover.
Wow.
That would have been ridiculous. But
I would be all over that.
No, that would have been ridiculous.
There was talk. There was talk of a Kill Bill Volume 3.
I saw that.
All of that stuff has none of it has come to fruition. The other thing he's talked about doing is what was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, what was the Western series Lawman?
Yeah, they're still talking, and that's the other stuff I enjoyed about that movie, with all the little side digs of movie posters to fake westerns and shit. I thought that
he wrote somewhere between 6 and 10 episodes of Lawman as part of his research to make Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So those scripts exist. There's
there's talk that Netflix is going to pick up
he has said after he does his 10th movie, he's not saying he'll never do any TV again. And the project after the 10th movie might be a Lawman miniseries on Netflix.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything else, Scott, about what he might do next?
I mean, I heard a little bit about maybe possibly doing some limited series and stuff like that.
But I'm talking about for the 10th movie.
After the movie critic, no, I've heard nothing. I mean, he said, he made a comment that everybody's coming after him. This is your swan song. It's got to be perfect. And he just doesn't know what he wants to do. He doesn't want to go. I think he made a comment. I don't want to go out with a Godfather 3.
That's tough.
Yeah, that's another example. That's another
movie that you
or
enjoy.
Fucking Megalopolis, which is Coppola's latest bomb.
No, I saw it. It was hot garbage.
Yeah, I saw the preview and already knew it was hot garbage.
I don't know why people like Adam Driver. I can't figure out this guy. He's not good.
I don't like him.
Yeah,
but
I don't like him
I
because
say,
he killed Han Solo.
I say Tarantino needs to do a good, fun movie, and he can always come back.
He shouldn't. He didn't want to have to come back. He wants to go out with a bang.
But you're always gonna you can't raise the bar so high that you can't even.
He could easily just drop the mic on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and be fine. But I'm
saying he should do something that he enjoys, and to hell with what everybody else thinks,
or not.
You know what he needs to do?
He doesn't have to do it.
needs to remake something that's iconic with his view on it,
like Star Trek.
Because that way everybody would be interested. He could go out I don't know, fucking remake The Graduate.
Right,
with Tarantino and have Dustin Hoffman character fucking killing people and putting them in trunks and you raise the trunk. I love it.
I'd like to see him do a TJ Hooker spinoff.
Oh, for sure, right away
in there.
Or the Fall Guy.
No,
the Fall Guy's already been done.
Yeah.
So.
He should
but they've kidnapped Adrian Zamuda.
No,
and he dies the first few minutes, and they've kidnapped Heather Locklear.
Now, here's the deal:
and
when
Hooker goes on a rampage, and
when BJ and the Bears ratings were going down, they changed it to BJ and the Seven Lady Truckers. He needs to do a BJ and the Seven Lady Truckers movie. The Seven Lady Truckers get kidnapped, and BJ goes on a fucking rampage.
And then you just got like a hellacious 70s.
And he brings back the bear to help him save the Seven Lady Truckers. So it's BJ and the monkey saving the Seven Lady Truckers. in a violent rampage.
Either way, I'd fucking
I think
watch
that's
it.
great.
Yeah, I'm
I
just
think
saying.
I say we wrap up right there, man. That we can't top
That's
that.
a perfect image to end on. Yeah. Thanks, Scott, for showing up. And
Hey, good to be here.
yeah, this has been fun.
Scott, we need to do a 007. I want you to.
Oh
really
my God,
think
that could
about
take hours and
Hey,
hours and
Scott,
hours.
seriously, any ideas you have for episodes, just let us know and we'll fucking schedule it.
Well, with the 007, we could just do the Sean Connery years and really.
No, what are you talking about? No,
You just
make it
wanna
fun.
run them all together?
Do nothing but a series of Bond girls.
We're going to do a James Bond episode with Scott and we'll figure it out and schedule it. You
Yeah.
cats have that to look forward to. That'll be the next Scott Royal episode.
Sounds like a plan.
We got more shit coming up in the next couple weeks. Stay tuned. Same bat time, same bat channel. Peace out, motherfuckers.
Deuces.
Say
Enjoy
goodbye,
your
Scott.
evening. Good night, y'all.